What's up, everybody? Welcome to the show. How you like it? Back to back to back. That's 3 wins in a row for the Philadelphia Eagles. Welcome to the Seth Joyner podcast. Got a good show for you guys tonight. We'll talk about our surging Eagles, as well as in the second half hour of the show, Ron Jaworski will join me to break down what's going on with Jalen, the improvements that we're seeing, not only from him, but the entire offense. So let's kind of recap this game. A lot of people were, jumping off the bandwagon last week. No one thought that the Eagles could go into Cincinnati and walk away with this W. Well, I think yours truly picked them last week. I think I had them winning 27-20. And boy, did they, exceed anything that I thought that they could actually go there and get done. Now, the beginning of the game didn't start off the best. It truly didn't. I mean, they went 10 plays, 52 yards, wound up kicking a 39-yard Jake Elliott field goal. But, they had a poor play call on that drive, after the Bengals drove 17 plays, 70 yards, and scored on their first possession. They had a bad play call that caused them to lose some yards, and then they turned around and, had a penalty that really set them behind the chains. Then they came back the next series. They went 7 plays, 18 yards, and they wound up having to punt. And then all of a sudden, it was almost like a switch flipped on, for not only Jalen, but the entire offense. Not only the offense and Jalen, but for Kellen Moore. And they scored on the next 7 possessions. They went touchdown, 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 field goal, touchdown, field goal over the next 7 possessions. Unbelievable day by Jalen Hurts. Wasn't statistically, superstar status, but he was 16 of 20, over 80% for 236 yards, 1 passing touchdown, and 3 rushing touchdowns. They got to figure out how to give Saquon Barkley some of these rushing touchdowns instead of doing these tush pushes all the time. But another solid day by Saquon Barkley, 22 carries, 108 yards. That's 4.9 yards per carry. In between A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, 11 receptions, 170, what is that? 170, is that right? No, 169 yards, one touchdown, a 45-yard beauty to Devontae Smith. Amazingly, this offense looked nothing like, the offense in previous weeks, which leads me to believe or think, hey, maybe we got a chance to see Kellen Moore's full offense last week. Because let's be honest, we kept talking about Jalen not getting the ball out of his hand. We kept talking about Jalen's inability to throw the ball over the middle of the field. We talked about our inability to run play action pass, having Saquon having the type of season that he's having. And all of these things that a lot of the prognosticators said that Jalen couldn't do, he proved once again to everybody that he could do it. Nice dig route across the middle of the field to A.J. Brown for a first down. Threw the deep ball to Devontae Smith, 45-yard dime. Check the ball down. Grant Calcaterra hooking up in the zone in the middle of the field. Everything that you wanted from Jalen, you got from Jalen. Jalen ran the ball effectively. That one rushing touchdown where he took off out of the pocket, turned the Jets on to the right. We haven't seen that kind of burst probably in 2 years now. So for all of the Jalen haters, all the people that said that Jalen, kept talking about what he couldn't do, he showed up last week and proved all the naysayers wrong. Now, I know some of you guys that follow me on Twitter, I know what you're going to say. Yeah, but Seth, you had your doubts too, because, the way that the tweet that you put out during the game. And you know what? I'm going to read it to you guys. Okay. I'm going to read it to you guys because it's important that you guys understand when I tweet in game, the context of what I'm actually tweeting, why I'm tweeting it, why I'm saying what I'm saying in that moment. So give me a second. I'm going to find it. I'm going to read it to you, and we're going to talk through it before I jump over on the defensive side of the ball. And give Vic Fangio and those players on the other side of the ball, some kudos. Okay. So I think it was in the second quarter. I want to believe maybe the first quarter. Jalen Hurts dropped back in the pocket. Cincinnati Bengals did a phenomenal job of disguising their coverage because you had Kenneth Gainwell that went in motion across the formation. And instead of the safety that was covering him out of the backfield on that side, going in motion with him, they bumped the safety back behind the line. The linebackers bumped over, and the linebacker actually went outside with Kenneth Gainwell when he lined up at the X position as like a wide receiver. So the common thought is, hey, they're in zone coverage because that guy that was on him didn't run with him. Well, they were in cover one. They were in man coverage. Jalen drops back. There's nothing across the middle. And all of a sudden he turns and he throws the ball to Kenneth Gainwell, really, in my estimation, without even looking out there at him to see what was going on. And it could have been a pick six. In my opinion, if it had been a defensive back out there on him instead of a linebacker, he would have picked that ball off and went the other way with it. And I almost flipped my wig. So I tweeted. I said, I defended Jalen Hurts as far as I can go, hoping he'd figure it out. That ball to Gainwell leads him to believe he had no clue that since he was actually in man coverage and he thought they were in zone, and there's no way that he could think that he could have thrown that ball there. Okay? Hashtag very concerned. Now, as you know, most of you guys are on Twitter, when you see something like that and then Jalen turns it around, what's the next thing to happen? Oh, that didn't age well. Oh, you need to, somebody's eating crow. Understand, in the moment, that tweet was for the moment, for that play. And yes, I was concerned because the team had run essentially 10 plays, 17 plays total, for very little yardage and one field goal. So the game kind of started off along the lines of, when the team has struggled, what it looked like. So, of course, my response would be what it is. Now, a lot of you guys know that, even when you guys have hated on Jalen and said that what he could and what he couldn't be, I've been one of his biggest proponents. But when I saw that play, that bad decision really, really concerned me, And, when you're emotionally attached to the game the way that I can be at times, that kind of shows in your tweets. But let me tell you something. Boy, did he turn it around. Boy, did he look like the Jalen from 2022. Had his burst, efficiently throwing the ball down the field, checking, getting in and out of plays. The offense looked different. They had him under center quite a bit. They put the running back, whether it be Gainwell or Saquon, in pistol, And from what I understand, he's been asking for some of that. While you guys have been saying what he can't do, he's been asking Kellen, hey, we need to run more motion. Hey, I need to get under center. Hey, we need to get the running back dotted in the pistol formation. Because why? What does that do? That gives you more options. I explained to you guys, and I'm going to break it down. There's two things I want to break down for you guys in the whiteboard session tonight. The first thing, I'm going to give you the difference between and show you the difference between why when you're in shotgun and you try to run the ball, you're limited. And then I'm going to show you like these pick plays. I was watching the game the other day with my wife, and this team ran a pick play, and they got flagged for it. And for the life of me, I cannot understand why these coaches coach the pick play the way that they coach it. Well, I'm going to give you guys a little one-on-one tonight about how to run the damn pick play right from a former defensive player. Okay. So we'll get to that a little later on. Let me get over on the defensive side of the ball. We give Howie a lot of crap, but I think we need to give Howie some kudos when it comes to these two defensive backs that he drafted this year, Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean. In my opinion, they're a big reason why we've had such a shift on the defensive side of the ball, and Vic Fangio feels a little more comfortable and a little more confident calling the type of defenses that he calls, because these guys just flat out ballers. 2 balls completed on Quinyon Mitchell all game. And he was on Jamar Chase quite a bit. All right. Cooper DeJean, huge tackle on ghost motion on Jamar Chase on a 4th down play that turned the ball over for the Eagles. Okay. First of all, they had 3 turnovers in the game. A lot of people won't see a turnover on downs as a turnover, but when you turn it over where they turned it over, that's a turnover. Okay. Because the Eagles offense got phenomenal field position. And the other thing you have to realize is when you turn the ball over like that, now you have to look at, okay, how many points did the offense score off a turnover? Cooper DeJean makes the tackle. They turn the ball over on a 4th and 2 play. They actually lose a yard. And 3 plays later, Jalen Hurts hits Devontae Smith on a 45-yard touchdown. That ball traveled 59.8 yards in the air. So all you guys that's out there that's talking about, oh, Jalen Hurts doesn't have the arm strength. Oh, he can't throw this. He can't. 68 yards, 59.8 yards in the air. Okay. It was the longest pass play of the year in the National Football League until Sunday night when Jalen Daniels threw that ball 60-plus yards for the Hail Mary. Okay. But these young players are the difference in this defense. Listen, I try to do what I do in the most honest and forthright of ways. And sometimes if I get it wrong, I'm man enough to step up and say, I got it wrong. Right for now, Nakobe Dean's playing his ass off. 2 sacks last week, led the team in tackles this week with 12 tackles, or maybe it was Zach Bond that had 12 and Nakobe had 9. Anyway, they've been consistently between the two of them leading the team in tackles. And for your linebackers, that's what you want to see. I don't want to see my safeties leading the team in tackles, because that means that, the running game isn't being stopped and they're getting next level on us. Okay. Defense, phenomenal across the board. Kudos to Nakobe Dean, solid, played aggressively. Looks like he's finally starting to figure it out. Let's continue to watch how he progresses. The defensive tackle between, Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter, Ojomo, Booker, and Milton Williams. Listen, they were solid all day long. Anytime that you can hold an NFL offense to 20 carries for 58 yards, 2.9 yards a carry. Let me say that again, 2.9 yards a carry. And it's not like, the Bengals weren't committed. When you run the ball 20 times, It tells me that there's some commitment on your part. And they held Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow is actually averaging around 251 yards per game. He only had 237, an interception, and 1 touchdown, and an 84 quarterback rating. By the way, that's the lowest rating he had all season long. Isaiah Rodgers got on the field. Darius Slay got banged up. He comes in. Him and Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, team up for a beautiful interception at the right time. So you guys have heard me talk about it. This aggressive play that the defense has kind of undertaken, from my perspective, it's going to begin to open up those windows and those doors. What did I tell you guys? I said, listen, they're not turning the ball over because they're playing passive. Okay, when you play aggressive, now you can force something. You're not forcing anything when you're playing passive. So what happens? Turn the ball over on downs. That's 1 turnover. Turn the ball over. Nakobe Dean makes the tackle. Zach Barn comes in and punches it out. Nakobe Dean recovers the fumble. Okay. Then you turn around, you got, this thing going on between Isaiah Rodgers tipping the ball and Chauncey Gardner-Johnson intercepting the ball. Okay. Now all of a sudden you're starting to force some things because you're starting to challenge people and you're starting to play a lot more aggressively. So then what winds up happening now, the turnovers will start to come once you start playing more aggressively. So now you think about it. We got the sacks, taken care of. The previous 2 weeks, they had 13 sacks over a 2-game span. Now, I only had 1. They split it in half. But when you're playing against an elite quarterback like Joe Burrow, you expect for him to make some plays. He's not going to sit back there and take hits. And he's mobile. He's going to move, trying to get the ball out of his hands a little quicker. But they dominated this offense. 280 yards of total offense on the day from an elite level quarterback. That's some pretty damn good defense. And you just got to give kudos across the board to every player on that defense. Listen, the outside guys, they didn't have a big day at all. Really kind of quiet. But let me tell you something. Here's another guy that I've been down on, starting to show up, starting to look like he's starting to get it, starting to understand it. Nolan Smith is slowly but surely coming on. So I think, as this team continues to progress, and let's go step by step, week by week, bit by bit, let's begin to look at, each and every one of these players from a different perspective. And maybe even look at them, let's kind of whitewash it all and start all over and look at them, because at the end of the day, they're all learning a new defense under a new defensive coordinator, new terminology, new responsibilities, the whole deal. It's the same thing with Jalen Hurts on the other side of the ball. People laughed at him and people said, he said 95% of our offense is new. Well, it stands to reason that they probably would struggle if that's the case. Him taking over protection calls now that Jason Kelce has retired, throw that together. Then throw into the mix that, in the preseason, they don't play players anymore. The players are basically, and the organizations are using the first 4 weeks of the season as preseason. So if you're not going to play your players and the first 4 games of the year, you're going to use that as preseason, that's a feeling out period. No wonder the team goes 2-2. And then all of a sudden they come out of the bye and they run off 3 games in a row to run their record to 5-2. They got the Jaguars coming to town. That's a game they should win. Don't take them lightly, because no team in the National Football League should ever be taken lightly. They're going to come in here, and the one thing I can tell you about losing teams, because I played against a lot of them, but I've been on some of them too. A losing team will fight you in the beginning because inherently they believe that they can win. And if you don't provide the right resistance, they will continue to keep fighting you because they believe that they can win. But they are one play away from you shoving them down the road to defeat. And the Eagles need to do that with the Jaguars immediately. Don't let this team hang around. Let them know from jump that this game is not going to be there for the taking, that you're going to get your ass beat the same way that we've beaten the last 3 opponents that we've had. Okay? That's got to be their mentality. And then, boy, oh boy, my favorite week of the season, you got them damn Dallas Cowgirls, in week 10. It's Cowboys week. Not trying to look ahead, just kind of giving you guys an idea of what's on the horizon and where this team should sit after the next 2 or 3 games. All right? Listen, you guys make sure that you're following the show, like the show. Make sure you turn on those notifications. I'm here every single week. I've got my TV show that airs here. If you guys want some other content, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Our pre and post game show airs here. We're usually on an hour and a half before kickoff and an hour and a half after the game is over. And we're also doing some great, I'll put it up next week, but I'm going to let you guys know just because of what we're giving away. I've got jerseys, tickets, helmets, and footballs that we're going to be doing giveaways on. Now, if you're interested, go over to Seth Joyner on Twitter for information on how to enter and how to be eligible. There is a page up, a video up, just a page, I believe, on the YouTube community page that tells you, how to enter. And then on YouTube, on Instagram and Facebook, there's a promo up. And obviously on Twitter, that's my deal. That's my jam. Obviously, there's a place, where you can figure out what's going on. I've got a Saquon Barkley jersey. I've got a Jalen Hurts jersey. I've got a A.J. Brown jersey. And I've also got a Brandon Graham jersey. And, of course, I had to put one up of yours truly, the Eagles Kelly Green, one of mine. But like I said, we've also got 2 tickets to an upcoming Eagles home game in suite with all the amenities that go along with being in a suite. I've got some signed Eagles footballs, to give away, and some mini helmets that I'll be signing to give away. All of those treats, we'll be dispersing those, over the last 9 weeks of the season, and maybe, just maybe, some into the postseason. So let me do this. Let me jump into let's jump into a quick break. I'm going to do my whiteboard breakdown when I come back, and then I hope by then Ron will be ready to go and we can bring Ron in. I really want to pick his brain about what he's seeing from Jalen, what he saw over the first 4 games of the season, and what the transformations are as far as the changes that Jalen's made, not only what he's made, but what he's seeing from the offense on the other side. All right. See you guys in a sec.
It's happening again. Those missed tackles are starting to stack up. Your friends pleading with players who can't hear them, sweating it out week after week. But not you. Why? Because whether they score or not, there's always another way to win on the BetParx app. New casino users score up to $1,000 bonus back in their first 24 hours.
At Pawn Lee Hockey, we're neither a pawn nor a hockey team. In fact, I don't even know how to skate.
Cut.
We're the injury law firm that you want fighting for you.
With our vast network of attorneys across the country, we know the playbook on injury law.
It's how Pond Lee Hockey recovered billions of dollars for more than 100,000 injured and disabled workers.
And we know we can do the same for you.
So give Pond Lee Hockey a call. No other law firm will fight harder for you.
And you'll never pay a dime until we win.
Let's go. I'm back in my bag. I'm wrecking the wins and it's making them.
You've got your Sunday obsession, and we got you. Now with Verizon, get NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube TV on us and get every out-of-market Sunday game. Plus $800 off Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 6. Only on Verizon.
See you Sunday.
Since 1893, Weber Display and Packaging has been Pennsylvania's leading manufacturer of corrugated packaging and displays. We're family-owned with 4 Philadelphia locations, 2 converting facilities, a warehouse, and a fulfillment center. Designed through delivery, we exceed customer needs. Weber Display and Packaging. Our core values drive everything we do. Come, join our team.
Welcome back, guys. Let's get into our whiteboard breakdown here. Some of you guys, my brain is fried. So if you guys can jump in the comments and remind me, I know I said I was going to break down the pick play in the proper way the team should be running it. And there was something else. And for the life of me, it just, went right over my head. So if somebody who's watching remembers what it is I said I would break down, I appreciate it if you put it in the chat. That way my producer can tell me what it is and I can, give them both to you. The first one, let's talk about these pick plays that teams are running right now. And for the life of me, I don't understand why coaches don't coach it this way. So you'll get wide receiver off the ball, wide receiver on the ball. Normally, this corner is up and this one's off, okay? So they're trying to run the pick play where this guy is trying to pick this guy off and they're trying to get this guy to the flat because he's got him and he's got him. So what's going to normally happen is they want to stay with each other. The first thing I don't understand is why they don't banjo this or in and out it, okay? Put this corner out here, this corner here. Let the route express itself. I got the outside receiver. I got the inside receiver, okay? Why they don't run it that way, I have no idea, okay? But normally what winds up happening is that he's coming down to get this guy. They run into each other. He collides with that guy. And then the next thing you know, they throw the flag, okay? Doesn't make any sense to me because if they want to have 100% success with this, and I know my man Jaws is waiting in the background and he's listening, what I don't understand, the best way to run this scenario is run this guy right here and hook him up. Just hook him up. Put your hands up. Act like you're trying to get the ball, okay? When that guy runs into you while he's coming here, he's scot-free every single time. And the referee can never, ever, ever throw the flag in this scenario. Just hook him up or curl him, whichever way, if you're dyslexic, whatever way you see it. It don't make any sense to me why they don't run it this way right here every single time. It's foolproof. But these guys run down in here all the time and they pick the guy, they throw the flag. They're going to throw it. They're going to throw it. Just sit him down right on his inside hip. And when he runs into him, it's 100% legal. Okay? That's the first thing I wanted to draw up for you guys.
All right. So we have someone commenting running out of pistol or running out of shotgun.
Perfect. My producer got me back on point. All right. So we're going to talk about running out of pistol or running out of shotgun. So when you run out of shotgun, this is my issue with shotgun. Good defensive tackles understand when you run the ball out of the shotgun, 95% of the plays have to go across the quarterback's face. Okay? They have to. The only play that you have out here is the quick toss. And you're not going to run that too many times because 9 times out of 10, you got a defensive end or a rush guy that's sitting out here waiting for you to toss that ball. It's an easy play for him. Okay? I got to learn these controls here because I can click them off one at a time. And I keep getting them confused. Okay? So, and this is the other thing about playing against runs that have to go across the formation. You know, they're going to try to scoop this guy going that way, but he's going to fight across the face and be in the backfield right now. And this is some of the issues that I see that plagues teams, you know, or teams will just line up and this guy slants. Now you're cutting off the entire backside. There's no cutback when this guy is here and he's breaking into the formation like that. There's nowhere to go. And you're restricted to just running the ball 9 times out of 10 in this direction. Opposed to when you get in the pistol or you get the guy behind, you get your quarterback under center, okay? You get your quarterback under center, you can run the ball here, you can run the ball here. You got the defense guessing. Even better, put that quarterback here and put him in pistol. And everything that you want to run, you can run the same way. The other thing, what does it do? Fake here, quarterback sets. Now look at the depth of the quarterback. Instead of being lined up at 4 yards, taking the shotgun snap and faking, and more times than not, still winding up at 4 or 5 yards. Look at the depth that the quarterback can now get. Okay. Now you got your play action pass. Your linebackers are stepping up. You got the quarterback on the drag, and now the quarterback can hit that all day long out of play action pass. When you're running the ball effectively as the Eagles are running it with number 26 here, the ability to run all of these different things are phenomenal. And one of the things I love the most is that, guess what? They're starting to run some play action passes, okay? That 45-yard touchdown to Devontae Smith was off of play pass action, okay? Off of play pass action. It doesn't make any sense to be able to run the ball all over the place and average 140-something, 160-something yards rushing, and you don't have any play action passes built into your offense. Well, now we know that they're there. They just got to start using them, all right? That's our whiteboard session for the evening. Let me bring in my good friend, my old teammate. You guys know him as Jaws, Ron Jaworski. Come on, man. Let's chat about Jalen Hurts. Once he figures out what's going on, we'll bring him back on. You know what? Why don't you click some questions in? Maybe we'll answer some questions until click a couple of questions and we'll do that until we can get Jaws up and running. Sure. All right. Forrest Hill wants to know, do I think they held back the offense and defense until now? No. Why would you do that? You want to get off to a great start. I will tell you this. As upset as we all were by the start of the team, in the big picture of things, they're only down 2 games. They've only lost 2 games. And to be honest with you, I would much rather see my team peaking at the end of November and into December than peaking right now. Like, you take the Detroit Lions, they're like hitting on all cylinders. Everything that they've got to show, they're showing it right now. They're playing at the top level of any team in the National Football League. And while they have 1 loss and Kansas City is undefeated, Kansas City looks beatable. They just keep finding a way to win games. But at some point in time, the odds have got to flip. And a couple of those games that they're winning, they're going to wind up losing because Patrick Mahomes and that offense are just not playing at the level that, in my opinion, they really need to play. They're being saved by their defense. But this whole theory that maybe they was holding some offenses back and some defenses back, I think we could err more on the side that the players were trying to get caught up with what the offensive and the defensive coordinators were trying to implement more so than they were holding some stuff back. All right. Coach Will wants to know, do I think we can catch Washington and win the division? Hey, listen, we should be in front by 1 game, in my opinion. I just don't understand what in God's name the Chicago Bears were thinking about the other night. But, you know, at the end of the day, what winds up happening is you have some games like that. You have some bad situations where, you know, you're trying to figure out what's going on with your team. And, you know, invariably, you're going to have some games throughout the year, in Washington's case, where, you know, you win some games that you shouldn't win, you know, you lose some games that you shouldn't lose. You know, so in the big scheme of things, it'll balance itself out. But the Eagles also are going to have the opportunity to play Washington twice and to win the division. And whoever can walk away from that game, listen, it's going to, in my opinion, it's going to come down to, you know, the head-to-head competition for the division. If the Eagles can, you know, beat Washington twice, then they're probably going to win the division. If it's the other way around, vice versa, that's what it's going to be. But at some point in time, you know, Jalen Daniels is playing his behind off. At some point in time, you know, things have got to change. Something's got to go sideways. Something's got to go wrong. And to my point, you know, I want to be peaking at the right time. You know, the Eagles need to peak at the end of November into December. I don't want my team peaking in September and October. And by the time they get to, you know, the end of the season, you know, when the leaves start to change and the wind starts to blow, and the next thing you know, they've already peaked while the weather was still warm. I don't want to see that. You know, I mean, Detroit is playing some phenomenal ball, and they are scary. But when you're hitting on all cylinders like that this early in the season, and let's take into account, you know, I don't know for certain, but how many injuries has beset the Detroit Lions? Have they had any major ones? Now, I know they lost Aiden Hutchinson. That's a big deal. But I'm talking about on the offensive side of the ball, because right now the offense is so prolific that the defense just got to show up. When you score 42 and 52 points in back-to-back weeks, goodness gracious, you know, as a defender, I'd be drooling on my face mask playing for an offense to put up numbers like that. All right? Enough of the questions. Got Jaws back. Let's jump into it. My friend, how are you doing, man? Oh, I can't hear you. We got some technical difficulties. Hey, Jaws, see, I think you might be muted, man. Check and see if you're muted. Not us, is it?
Can you say something again?
Yeah, he's talking. He's talking, but I can't hear him.
Not getting any audio there.
Hey, Jaws. Well, when you click him, it looks like he's muted on our end. So click on Jaws down there at the bottom. The last time you did that, when you clicked it, it looked like it was muted on our side. Well, I can't read lips, my friend. And we're trying to figure it out. I don't know whether it's on our end or your end. Who knows? Anyway, tell him to give us one of his thumbs up once he figures out, you know, what's going on, or you give me a thumbs up when you figure out what's going on. But, you know, technology, man. Sometimes it's a great thing. Sometimes it's a pain in the behind. You want to throw some more questions back up on the board? Let's do that while you're, you know, trying to figure this out technically there. All right. Jake wants to know how do I like the play of Calcaterra lately? Me personally, I'm glad Jalen is trusting him in the passing game. And listen, he is trusting, you know, Grant a lot, which leads me to believe, why doesn't he trust, you know, Goddard like that? You know, I've seen him throw Grant some balls this year that I'm like, man, those balls would have looked so good going to Goddard. Now, I get it. Goddard had the huge 170-yard receiving day against, you know, the New Orleans Saints. But I just think that he's such a prolific piece that they're missing. But I'm not going to take anything away from Grant, you know. He shows some acceleration, some speed when he catches the ball. He's shown great hands. And listen, good for him that he's actually taking advantage of the opportunity that presents itself. Because in the National Football League, that's just how it is. You know, when a player gets hurt, it's an opportunity for you to step up and show the rest of the league what it is that you can do, and show your team what it is that you can do. So, you know, hey, kudos to him. Next question. Could it maybe that this thing isn't, you know, this thing?
No, I'm not getting anything from
You're not
my
getting
end either.
Okay. All right.
I'm
All right. Well,
over here.
we'll try to figure it out. Jaws, if it doesn't work, we'll try to do it again next week. All right. Cedric wants to know, what about the injuries, and is it a concern? Well, listen, I was impressed with Fred Johnson. Now, he's got to go into, you know, the next couple of weeks with the same mindset that he went in playing against his former team. Because, man, he locked up anybody that tried to rush on that left side. Played a phenomenal game for Jordan Mailata. He's just got to continue to play well. Steen, you know, he had a couple of injuries. Well, he got not injuries. He had a couple of penalties, but for the most part, I thought he played a pretty solid game. You know, moving forward, you know, obviously Mailata's on IR. He's going to be gone for some time. You got Goddard that's probably week to week trying to figure out, you know, where he is in relationship to his injury and his time frame to return. And then you got Darius Slay, who went down in the game on Sunday. And, you know, he's been having some knee injuries, some knee situations already. Now he's got a groin injury. And my main concern is, you know, is the injury on the same side? Is it his right groin and his right knee? Because sometimes those types of injuries can be related from the standpoint that they're affecting one another. And when you play for 12 years, your body is beat up in a way where even if he comes back before he's fully healthy, he's not going to be right the rest of the year. You know, so maybe the proper thing to do is just shut him down, put him on IR for 4 weeks, let him get fully healed. I'm more than confident in Isaiah Rodgers and Keely Ringo, you know, being able to hold the fort down till he comes back. Who else is beat up and injured? I'm trying to think. I think those are the major ones. I'm sure there's somebody else, but those are the major ones. You know, Mekhi Becton. I think he was in the concussion protocol, and I think he's still in the concussion protocol at this moment. I think I may have Jaws finally on. Let's do it. We still ain't got it, man. My friend, I'm not sure what it is. I'm not sure whether it's on our end or your end or where it's at. But I'm gonna free you. I'm gonna free up your evening and let you go, man. And we'll try to let me know if you're available next week. We can do it again next week. All right. I appreciate you, man. All right. Let's finish it up and talk to him mode. We haven't had to talk to him Tuesday in a while, man, because it's all been about the birds instead of y'all. Talk to me. CJ wants to know, in my opinion, is Jalen Hurts a top 8 quarterback? Listen, it's amazing because I was just doing Merrill Reese's radio show, and we were talking about some of these same things about Jalen Hurts. He asked me what I thought. This is my perspective on Jalen Hurts. You know, Jalen Hurts was drafted in the 2nd round. A lot of times, first-round quarterbacks get the benefit of the doubt until they run their course 3 to 5 years, and we figure out that they're not what we thought they could be. Jalen Hurts came into Philadelphia under the most auspicious of situations. You know, Carson Wentz was the franchise quarterback. He had just signed, you know, on as the franchise. And the situation went sideways with him. And Carson made the decision that, you know, if he had to compete against Jalen for the starting job, even though he was already signed to the franchise quarterback deal, and even if Nick Sirianni said that, hey, there are no starters on this team, who, you know, everybody's going to compete, he had to know that, you know, the franchise wanted him to be the starting quarterback. And there wasn't a snowball's chance in hell that Jalen was going to be able to wrestle that away from him. So why the lack of confidence and the lack of, wanting to compete? I don't understand that. That's one of the things that like really turned me off about Carson Wentz, because I'm always about the competition. I guess as an 8th round draft pick, I'm just wired that way. He comes in, and his first year, he really struggles. Figures out somehow a way to get the team to 9-7 to get to the playoffs, get the doors blown off him in the first round. He comes back the next year, and he's a completely different player. He's put in the work, done everything that he could to make himself better. And damn near takes the team to the Super Bowl. Well, damn near wins the Super Bowl and becomes the league MVP. Now, Shane Steichen leaves, Nick Sirianni takes over, or let me correct that. Brian Johnson takes over as the defensive coordinator. And we're all under the impression and all under the belief that Brian Johnson is control of the offense. And when it comes to when it comes to light, in fact, Nick Sirianni has been behind the scenes controlling the offense and not really empowering Brian Johnson to run the offense. But when it's all said and done, Brian Johnson is made to look like the scapegoat in this situation because they made it seem like this offense was his. So Jalen Hurts is in a situation again where he's on his 3rd offensive coordinator, 3rd quarterback coach, and a different voice in his head in 5 years. And we want to know whether this guy can be a top 8 quarterback. He was a top 2 quarterback in 2022. He was a runner-up to the Heisman his senior year in college. See, this is my issue that I have with you guys that don't believe in Jalen Hurts. If a quarterback showed me that he could never be what I expect for him to be, then there's a reason for me to believe that he can never achieve that. But Jalen has shown us on more occasions than not that he can be an elite level quarterback. Show me a quarterback who hasn't had struggles in the first 4 or 5 years of his career, and I'll show you a guy who never played quarterback in the National Football League. Peyton Manning was awful his first 2 years. Awful. The list goes on and on. Tom Brady sat on the bench, his first year or two. Now, I'm not comparing Jalen to these guys at all. Don't get me wrong. Don't go on social media and say that Seth Joyner, compared Jalen Hurts to Tom Brady and Peyton Manning. I'm just using the example that quarterbacks struggle, and quarterbacks really struggle when they're in a situation where they're asked to change systems and coaches and quarterback coaches, OCs, on a regular basis. Let's talk about another thing. Let's talk about the better quarterbacks in the National Football League. And let's look at their history. Patrick Mahomes has never known any other coach but Andy Reid. Josh Allen, the Brady guy who's now his offensive coordinator, has always been on that staff since Josh Allen has been there. Brian Daboll was the offensive coordinator, okay? And then after Brian Daboll left, the guy who was his quarterback coach got elevated too. So the verbiage is the same. Dak Prescott, 2 years under Mike McCarthy, maybe 3. Before that, he was under the same coach all of these years. So he had the ability to not only learn the system and not only get on the same page as the offensive coordinator and the quarterback coach, but he had an opportunity to take a playbook and make that playbook his own and master it. And master that playbook, to begin to think through that playbook and those plays in the same way that the offensive coordinator and his quarterback coach did. I could go on and on and on. You show me Joe Burrow, same thing. Only coach that he's known is Zach Taylor and Zach Taylor's staff. So for all you guys that think that Jalen can't do it, what he doesn't have and what he can't bring to the table, my point to you is the Eagles got to figure out a way to keep Kellen Moore right here. If Nick Sirianni is going to be the head coach, they got to figure out a way to tamp down the head coaching aspirations of Kellen Moore and give Jalen the opportunity to have this coach at his side for at least the next 3 or 4 years. If they decide for some odd reason or another to move on from Nick Sirianni, then Kellen Moore has to be the next head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles. Because you're going to make this guy your franchise quarterback, but you're not going to give him all the franchise amenities for him to be the best that he can be. And I hear some of you guys, oh, well, he got the best wide receiver tandem in the league. He got the best offensive line in the league. He got the top tier running back in the league. You're absolutely right. But if he can't master the process of how he utilizes all of that best of everything in the league, what damn difference does it make? And Howie and Jeffrey owe him that. They owe him a hell of a lot of money, but they also owe him the opportunity, if they want to succeed and win Super Bowls, to put him in position to succeed. And the way that they're going to do that is by giving him a consistent offense and a consistent quarterback coach and a consistent offensive coordinator to allow him to be the best. And to answer the question, yes, I do believe that he can be a top 5 quarterback in the National Football League. Why? Because I've seen him do it before. And for you guys who think he can't, let me share something with you. If Baker Mayfield and Geno Smith and Sam Darnold can resurrect their career, I bet everything that I'm worth that Jalen Hurts will get it right and he'll be elite and he'll lead this team in the right direction again. Think about that. Think about that when you start talking about what he can't be and what he can't do. If those 3 guys who were on the cusp of being run out of the National Football League could fix and resurrect their career, Jalen Hurts is stronger mentally than they are. He's more gifted as a passer and as a runner as those 3 guys are. You're going to tell me that he can't be what he once was if you give him all the tools that's required for him to be that? Come on, man. Come on. I've been around football too long to believe that he can't be what he once was. Next question. David Williams wants to know what player I think is next to step up. Wow. That's a tough question. Because when I look across the board, I see all these players stepping up. On the defensive side of the ball, Jalen Carter, superstar material. He's got to learn how to play the same way week in and week out. Because he seems to me to have a good week, a bad week, a good week, a bad week, a dominant week, an okay week. Cooper DeJean, I think the insertion of him in the slot corner has completely flipped the prospects of what this defense can be on his head. Quinyon Mitchell, who the heck ever thought that he would come in and be a starter day one and be putting up the type of stats that he's put up? I mean, I don't think any of you guys realize he hasn't given up more than 2 receptions in each of the first 7 games. And I don't think any of the receivers is going to, and he hasn't given up more than 20 yards in total receptions if they've had 2 in a game. I think Nolan Smith is beginning to, the light is beginning to go off, and I believe he steps up. On the offensive side of the ball, hey, listen, there's nobody in the offensive side of the ball that I don't expect for them to do what they're already doing. I said at the beginning of the year, I felt like Dallas Goedert this could be a breakout year for him. But the truth of the matter is Dallas can't stay healthy. And, the old saying goes, he's hell when he's well, but he's always in the tub. It's the truth. So, Grant Calcaterra is taking advantage of the opportunities that's afforded to him. And Jalen sees him, believes in him for some reason or another, and he's becoming a prolific piece of this offense while Dallas Goedert is, on the sideline. So I can't with certainty, David, look at this team and say, who's the next guy to step up? Because to be honest with you, in order for them to be successful, they're all going to have to step up. The defense is going to have to grow up together and continually figure out, how to improve and how, they can bring a consistent level of play to the field each and every week. And then, on the offensive side of the ball, it's just about them finding their rhythm, like Jalen says, where they can go out each and every week and strike fear into the heart of their opponent, because they have the kind of talent to do that. They can run the ball at you to set up what they want to set up in the passing game. And obviously there's going to be some games where the running game is going to take a back seat, because when you look at how teams are ranked, coordinators and head coaches sometimes are tilted towards attacking a team's weakness. Like the Cincinnati Bengals this week, they were ranked 21st defensively against the run, giving up 136 yards per game. They were also ranked 21st against the pass, giving up 217 yards per game. So you could look at this and say, maybe Kellen Moore was a little bit challenged because there's no weakness there. But when you look at the Philadelphia Eagles, they're ranked 14th against the run, giving up 114 yards per game. And against the pass, they're 10th against the pass. That's phenomenal to me. They're only giving up 189 yards a game. So if I'm trying to game plan against our offense, I'm going to give them a steady diet of the run game, because that's their weakest position when you consider the run and the pass. I'm going to dominate that anyway. I'm going to try to dominate that anyway, because from a defensive mindset, if I can run the football, then that opens up everything else. I can dominate other areas of the field, But when I talk about, to answer your question, the Eagles offensively are looking at trying to balance up what they do from the standpoint of how we attack you from an offensive perspective from week to week. Can we dominate you by running the football? If that's the case, then let's do that early. Let's set that stage early, and then obviously you're going to have other situations where teams are very stout and very good against the run, and the Eagles might have to go in and Jalen may have to throw the ball 35, 40 times. Nobody wants to hear that, but I can promise you somewhere down the road is coming. All right, next question. Level Up says, what's up with James Bradbury? Nothing. He is right there where he needs to be. Collect his check and let these young guys play. Next question. David Williams again wants to know, what about Dotson? Do you think he's getting any better? I'm going to be honest with you guys. I think that the third wide receiver in this offense is just an afterthought. I don't think that Jahan Dotson isn't getting any targets because he's not getting open. The same way that Nick Sirianni told Quez Watkins that you're going to be the fourth or the fifth option, I think that Jahan Dotson is the fourth or fifth option. Anytime that Jalen can get the ball to his playmakers, that's A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith first. That's where the ball is going. Then, 35 to 40% of the production is going to come from the running game and Saquon, and they still haven't figured out how to get him, involved in the pass game. So the question is, where are the balls? You heard Jalen say, hey, there's a lot of mouths to feed at this table. And it's my job as the point guard to try to figure out how to distribute and how to make sure everybody's eating and everybody's happy. How's he supposed to do that for Jahan Dotson? Okay, that's why this trade, in my opinion, wasn't that great of a trade. And I said it at the time, and everybody poo-pooed it. Oh, he just didn't get the opportunities to form a first round. It's not about him and what he can do and what he brings to the table. It's about how the Eagles organization sees the number 3 position. The reason why Quez Watkins was no longer an option, because whoever's in that position, He's got to play like his hair is on fire every single time and realize that there's a 10% chance every pass play that he'll catch a ball. 10%, maybe even less. But when that ball comes his way, he damn well better catch it. And Quez Watkins was a guy who never caught it, was never ready, that never made the play. So they had to move on. But I'm not so sure that the third-round draft pick that we gave up to get Jahan Dotson will be worth it when it's all said and done, because the focus is never going to be on getting the number 3 guy the ball. You got people talking, we're coming up on a trade deadline. We need to get a number 3 wide receiver. They don't even throw to the one that we got. Why would you use the draft capital to go and get another one? For what? They need a pass rusher is what they need, a bona fide pass rusher, a guy that teams will fear. That's what they need to go get. If they're going to spend some draft capital, spend it on that. Next question. Chris wants to know, have the Eagles proven they can stop the run? Well, Chris, let me tell you, 14th in the National Football League out of 32 teams, 114 yards per game. Now, that was going into last week's game. And they held the Cincinnati Bengals to 58 yards, 2.9, so that number is going to drop even more. I would say they probably may have figured it out. Vic Fangio has kind of figured some things out. Not only has he figured it out and how he has them defensing the run, but I think the linebackers and the safeties and everybody else is starting to begin to figure out how they fit across the front when teams are trying to run the ball on them. My biggest problem with them in the running game is not how the teams run the ball up the middle at them, but it's how they lose the edge against teams that want to hit it up inside and bounce outside, or teams that truly want to get outside. From Josh Sweat to Nolan Smith, sometimes BG, and a lot of times, Bryce Huff, because he's so small, they give up the edge. That's the most vulnerable place to give up run plays on your defense. Because if you just show color, that running back's always going to cut the ball back up inside. Always going to do that. So, yeah, I think they have gotten better. And I can't wait to see what they do against Jacksonville next week, because once you add that 58 yards and that extra game to the mix, I think they're going to drop even more from 14th, even down even further. And depending on what they do against the Jaguars, they may fall even further. All right? Next question. Lazarus wants to know, do I think the Eagles will make the big move before the deadline? Listen, I believe that Howie is looking. He would be remiss in his job and derelict in his duties if he wasn't looking for ways to improve the team. Now, you heard, Nick Sirianni say in his press conference today, hey, I'm happy with the guys that we have. What the hell else is he supposed to say? We don't have enough? Howie go out and get us some more top tier players? Then you hear Vic Fangio say the same thing. Well, what are you going to go and bring in, teams traditionally that make a move at the trade deadline and spend a huge amount of draft capital, it never really works out in their favor. True. But if you're going to tell me you're going to trade a first round and a second rounder to go get Myles Garrett, hell yeah, go get him. Sit Josh Sweat's ass down, and I'm okay with that, okay? Because that guy is a bona fide baller. That guy is going to make sure that he's going to give every team that the Eagles play, something to worry about on the edge. Not only is he dominant in the run game, but he's even more dominant in the pass game from a pass rush standpoint. Now, if you're talking about making that kind of upgrade, I'm all in with that one, okay? But in a lot of ways, I'm kind of with Vic. You go and you bring in a guy, he's not familiar with your system, not familiar with the verbiage, he might not even be familiar with, your scheme. And this is the problem. This is another problem when you sign free agents in the offseason and you bring them down. A lot of these personnel people and these GM people, they look at a guy playing in another system and try to project that guy in the system that we run. Well, that guy may be running a completely different system. He might be asked to do completely different things, So when you're talking about bringing in new personnel, you got to take all of that into consideration. And I think in a lot of ways, Howie would need to sit down with his coordinators and say, hey, what are we trying to accomplish offensively and defensively? And does this guy's skill set jive with what we're trying to do, because we don't need to waste any more draft capital on guys that's not going to produce. All right. So we'll see as we get closer to the trade deadline what winds up happening. Carl Reeder wants to know, is Nakobe Dean starting to show that he was what he was drafted for, being that dog? Hey, listen, he's getting close to making me eat some crow. Because, I listen, I don't have a problem doing it. He looked horrible the first 4 or 5 games of the season. But the last 2 games, he has just been, he and Zach Bond have been the top 2 tacklers over the last 2 weeks. Nakobe the week before, Zach this week. Nakobe had 2 sacks last week. Nakobe had a fumble recovery this week off of the forced fumble by Zach Bond. I still got to see more, and I got to see the consistency of it. I'm not going to say, he's that dog yet, but, he's starting to growl a little bit. He's starting to show some teeth. I just need to see him bite a few more times, get a couple of ankles, maybe even a couple of kneecaps, in the infamous words of Dan Campbell, before I, deem him to be a dog. Just a little more consistency. I think across the board, you want to see that kind of consistency from the entire defense. If he can begin to put together back-to-back, performances where, he keeps showing up, then yeah, I'm happy to take that plate and a spoon and a fork and eat that crow. So we'll see. David, man, you are just busy tonight, ain't you? You want to know my take on Milton Williams? Milton is a guy who's flashed in different scenarios and situations. He looks like he has a lot to offer, but he's another one of those guys. Listen, my biggest thing when I'm evaluating players is that it's one thing for you to flash and show me what you can be. It's another thing for you to do it over and over and over again, because the NFL truly is about consistency. It's about confidence and consistency. The confidence piece of it is, in order for you to be a great athlete, you have to have confidence. It's the number one thing, in my opinion. Because when you get to this level, you got the athletic skill and the ability. Now, how much confidence that you have that you can dominate the guy across from you week after week after week? Even trying to figure out how you can win the percentages on a guy that may be bigger, stronger, faster, a better athlete than you. You still got to believe that you can dominate. Then, do you consistently show up? Do you consistently have good games? I get it. You're going to have some good games. You're going to have some great games. But you're also going to have some games where you're off, okay? It's hard for 17 weeks consecutively to get your energy stores, your adrenaline level up to where it needs to be. That's why, I was talking about it in an interview earlier. It's one of the reasons why I admire the hell out of Ray Lewis, because you look at the level of play, him and Troy Polamalu, you're talking about 2 guys that just, each and every Sunday, they just showed up with their hair on fire. I don't think people really realize how hard that is to be up every single week, to play in an emotional game on Sunday and turn around and come back on Thursday like these guys are doing now and show up and dominate 4 days later. That's hard, man. It's hard. So a lot of it is just, with Milton is just, him making up his mind that he's going to dominate. I don't give a damn about Jalen Carter. I don't give a damn about Jordan Davis. I'm going to dominate and be the best player that I can be, and I'm going to force Vic Fangio's hand to figure out how to keep me off the field. All right? Michael wants to know what I think is the problem with Jordan Davis. There's no problem. He was a run stopper solely. He's always been a run stopper solely. He does it impressively sometimes. Did you see Chase Brown running to him in the game on Sunday, man? It was almost like he ran into a damn brick wall. I mean, Jordan didn't even have to, wrap his arms up. He ran into him and just, bam, straight down on the ground. And listen, he can dominate in the running game. The problem is teams throw the ball on second down. Teams may come out and throw the ball on first down. can you transfer that run stopping ability into pass rushing? The problem is they're saying he's 330 pounds. You and I know damn well he ain't no 330 pounds. They just baking they're baking the player media guide. If he ain't 350 pounds, I'll eat my hat. And that's his problem. In order for him to get better, he's going to have to get down to 325 to 335 pounds, somewhere in there. And until he makes up his mind that that's what he wants to do and that's where he's going to play and he's going to discipline himself, get a jump rope, get in the best shape that he could possibly be in, work on your feet, work on your pass rush technique, until he decides he's going to do that, then he's going to be continued to be looked upon as a mistake at number 13. That's just a fact. Listen, the Eagles can get mad at me for saying that. Jordan could get mad at me for saying that. That's a fact. He's a run stopper. And that's all. It's the cold hard truth. It's cold hard facts. What it is. That's how I do. I bring it like it is. If it ain't, it ain't. But it is the fact. Do I think there's a chance that Bryce Huff can be effective? Yes, I do. But only as a pass rush specialist. The thing that you guys, I don't know if some of you guys have noticed, what he has begun to do is in obvious passing situation, he gets down in a 4-point stance and he rushes from there. He's a hell of a lot more explosive, a lot more quicker, and a lot more aggressive out of that stance. The problem is he can't play in that stance on first and second down if they're running the football at him. So he can be effective as a pass rusher, but I don't see him being effective as a starting every down rush in. He's just not big enough. Just not big enough. And he's not explosive until he gets down to 4-point stance. And I would bet you $1 to a donut that if you go back and you look at all 10 of his sacks from last year from the Jets, they all came from a 4-point stance because that's how the Jets used him. But they made the decision that they were not going to pay a pass rush specialist, 3 years, $53 million. Hence we wind up with him here in Philly. All right. Oh my God, I didn't realize I was that far over. Last question. It's 12 minutes over time, man. Forrest Hill, you get the last question tonight. Who's my MVP on the defense and offense right now? Wow. On the offensive side of the ball, I give kudos to a lot of people. But I think as good as this offense has been, it's been because of the addition of number 26, Saquon Barkley. He's a game changer. He's a difference maker. And I talked about it earlier. I said the quarterback's best friend is a great running game and an offensive line. But you can have a great offensive line and not have the complementary running back. So at the end of the day, it's the running back. Saquon Barkley is all of that and a bag of chips. On the defensive side of the ball, it could very easily be Quinyon Mitchell. It could very easily be a combination of Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean, because ever since he's been inserted at the slot corner position, our defense has looked markedly different. So can we potentially give him the credit? Can we say that he's the reason why we have this resurgence on the defensive side of the ball? I don't know. Could be Jalen Carter. If Jalen Carter showed up every single week and dominated every single week, hands down, it'd be him. That's hard to say because you got both of those young guys playing extremely well. And I don't want to slight one or the other after 7 games by saying, one of them is the defensive MVP. Let's kind of let that play out. But for my money right now, Saquon Barkley. All right, man. I went 13 minutes over, just running my mouth, not paying attention to the clock. I want to thank you guys for tuning in. Don't forget the giveaways. Go over to my social media outlets. You can find them there. Make sure you guys like and comment the show. Turn on your notification. Please subscribe. And as always, I'll see you guys back here next week talking about hopefully another Birds victory. And as always, be good to each other. Take care of each other. But most important, make sure you love each other. The world needs more love. I'll see you guys back here next week. Peace.
Most people don't know how to get the care they need. The experts at Stay at Home Care can help. Before choosing a caregiver or family member for your care, you need to apply for the home care program. The application process can be complicated. Stay at Home Care can help you navigate through every step. Once approved, your caregiver or family member will receive guaranteed weekly pay, a variety of medical benefits options, paid holidays, paid vacation, and overtime pay. Call Stay at Home Care, here to help every step of the way.
This is Seth Joyner, top analyst for the Birds. I've also analyzed the best auto dealerships, and I drive a Davis Honda.
Get to Davis Honda now and fall into savings. Lease a new 2024 Prologue EV for just $299 per month. See why Davis Honda continues to win outstanding awards for sales and service, including the highest award from Honda, the President's Award, 2 years in a row. Fall into savings right now at Davis Honda. Feel the Davis difference at Davis Honda in Burlington.
I'm Seth Joyner, and I drive a Davis Honda.
At Revolution X, we know that fortunes are made in times of uncertainty. Are you selling your investment real estate? Are you interested in deferring your tax with a 1031 exchange? At RevX, we're experts in 1031 exchange planning and the use of passive real estate options using DSTs. Not in the midst of an exchange and want to invest in real estate but don't know where to start? Revolution X has institutional grade real estate options for any size investor right now. Set up a consultation at RevXWealth.com. RevX, defer the tax, maximize the gain.
This is Parks. Parks, Pennsylvania's #1 casino experience. This is how you win.
Pride, passion, and persistence. These are the values that drive us all at Ron Jaworski Golf. We strive to deliver outstanding conditions as well as playability for golfers of all ages and abilities. Our championship golf courses offer a variety of challenges, from a link-style walk along the river to an escape into the pines and everything in between. My team at Ron Jaworski Golf is committed to delivering memorable experiences every single day. See all we do at ronjaworskigolf.com.